What's going on, guys? It's the Hunter Project here. Welcome back to my channel. Today we will be going over some new Monster Hunter Rise PC news regarding the system requirements. As always, if you do enjoy and or find this video useful, a like would be extremely appreciated. It does help out the channel a ton, and subscribe for a lot more Monster Hunter content. But without wasting any more time, let's jump straight into the video. So Capcom has helpfully provided some performance expectations alongside the game's system requirements. So if we start off with the minimum requirements, we have Windows 10 64-bit OS. For CPUs, we have the Intel i3 4130 and AMD FX 6100, 8GB of RAM, DirectX 12, and for our GPU, we have the GT 1030 and Radeon RX 550, both of which are quite old processing units, so it is pretty nice to see that these are the minimum requirements. And the requirement for the VRAM is only 2GB, which once again is pretty sweet, meaning there will be a lot of systems that will be able to run Monster Hunter Rise in terms of, like, of course, PCs. Considering it is a Switch game though, I'd say that makes sense. And the game will only use up 23GB to top it all off, which is quite nice compared to the other titles nowadays that are around 50GB onwards into the hundreds in some cases. Right, and as for the recommended specs, of course CPU and GPU are of course the areas that will see the biggest effect. So as for CPU, the recommended is around the area of Intel i5 4460 and the AMD FX 8300. Of course, you can Google how much weaker your CPU is compared to these, depending on whether or not you're trying to go for minimum or recommended specs. And of course, if you already have a beefy PC, you're definitely going to be able to run this easily. I myself have a Ryzen 3600 with a GTX 1660 Super, so that's definitely way more than capable to run Monster Hunter Rise. And yeah, so carrying on, RAM stays the same, 8GB, DirectX stays the same, and as for the GPU, we have the GeForce GTX 1060 and the Radeon RX 570. Once again, for your CPU and your GPU, you can definitely just look on Google as to where your CPU and GPU will lie in terms of power compared to these recommended and minimum specifications. And as for VRAM, it's not quite 2GB, it would be looking for 3 to 4GB of VRAM. And storage, of course, will stay the same. That will not like change at all, unless they most likely will have a HD texture pack, I'm guessing, and I'm not sure if they've already confirmed this or not, but they probably will have that at some point, and that will of course buff the amount of storage space required. But for what Capcom have said for the actual expectations that we can see, so they have said that using the minimum requirements, you can expect the game to run at 1080p on low settings at 30 FPS, which is pretty decent, as that is pretty much how it runs on the Switch, so I'd say that's a good base standard to have. And if you have the recommended settings, then it will be at 1080p still, at 30 FPS, but with average settings, so it will look better at least, but it will be the same performance. And of course, if you have a better graphics card and CPU combination, then you're most likely going to be able to run the game at even higher resolutions and at even higher frame rates. I know with the 1660 Super, that is much more powerful than the GTX 1060 3GB model, so I can definitely know that I will be expecting at least up to like 60 FPS on average. At least that's from me guessing. But when the game does come out, I'll probably will do a benchmark video, just so for those of you who have a 1660 Super or even a 1660, you can have a general feel or a general visual for how the game will play out. And I think the art style as well is extremely well chosen, as I feel like it can look very artistic while looking very realistic, meaning the graphical settings, if it's scaled really low, it leans more to the artistic side, and if it's scaled really high, then it can easily capture that realism, like with all the detail and everything. So I think it's really good how they've put the art style, as it can be scaled in any direction without making the game look terrible at any level. And keep in mind, for those of you who are not sure if the game will run on your system, there is a free Steam demo that you can access that will allow you to have a general feel for how it may run for the actual game. But of course, the actual game will probably most likely will run smoother than how the demo will run on your system. And with the release date edging closer and closer, more information is being revealed about the PC version, so be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with future Monster Hunter news. And with that said, that does close out this video, guys. As always, if you did enjoy, a like would be extremely appreciated. It does help out the channel a ton. And comment down below if you are excited for the PC version of Rise and what your computer specifications are. Don't forget to join our Discord, links at the top of the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.